everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew and very excited today to have Daniela Karas onto the channel, one of my good friends and also colleagues back when I was with the state of Arizona, who is currently a security engineer over that way. So Daniela, super glad to have you on the channel. I'm going to do a quick read on to kind of introduce the viewers of who you are, and then we'll go ahead and get started with our running series of Breaking into Cyber. So, Daniela is a dedicated cybersecurity professional currently serving as an information security engineer at Arizona Department of Homeland Security. With over 5 years of experience in supporting public sector information systems, Daniela plays a pivotal role in safeguarding critical infrastructure, leading cyber risk management initiatives for the state of Arizona. Her focus areas include security engineering, policy implementation, and incident response coordination. In parallel to her civilian career, Daniela serves as a signal support systems specialist in the Arizona Army National Guard, where she provides tactical communication support and contributes to cyber defense readiness for the state and federal missions. Prior to her current role, she served as an information systems security officer, helping shape organizations' compliance programs and driving secure architecture practices. Danielle brings a unique blend of hands-on technical skill, regulatory insight, and mission-driven discipline. From managing help desk operations to leading cybersecurity engineering efforts across government entities, she continues to advocate for operational readiness and cyber education with both military and civilian sectors. Daniela, thank you so much and welcome to the channel.
Thank you for the fluffy introduction. I appreciate it.
As we jokingly said, it's amazing what ChatGPT can put together by pulling people's skills. And
Yes,
for
absolutely.
and for those that have never done that, so it's always funny. People say, well, Google yourself and see what you can find. Take ChatGPT and take all your current skills. And if you've never presented or if you've ever want to present, see what a speaker bio would look like. I think it can sometimes be slightly funny, slight enlightening to kind of see with the stuff you've done in the past 5 years. And Danielle, we kind of been talking, and we've known each other now probably 2-3 years. And from my time back at the state, we've ran into each other at conferences, and as everyone kind of comes to the channel and kind of goes to, we'll hit you kind of with the first question, breaking into cyber. So a lot of people don't look at this as a first choice role. Usually when growing up, they want to be doctors, lawyers, police officers. What kind of made you choose this profession, and what kind of got you interested into the role?
Yeah, I definitely absolutely fell into that general realm of like, I didn't grow up wanting to be in cyber, but there was definitely some clues that I should have leaned into earlier. Just thinking back to the things, the books and video games that I prefer, even told me exactly where I should have been looking into. Um, and ultimately, how I got into cyber was utilizing the army. So before I joined the army, I was actually working in an HR role. It was probably my like favorite big girl job at the time. Like everything was perfect. There was no reason for me to be looking around, but like the team culture was well. I liked the role. Everything was going good. But as I thought about that long-term progression, is this like really what I want to do until I retire? Like that one question always stumped me, and it really put a roadblock, but it made me realize that as cheesy as this sounds, I needed more challenge in my day to day. And again, relating back to my preferences, I've always preferred books and video games that have more challenge to them, that there's like riddles and puzzles, and you really have to kind of discover what's actually going on. So, knowing that I wanted more challenge when I learned about cybersecurity, I really had my aha moment. And I really want to share something with your viewers that I'm really risk adverse, like naturally. It's who I am. So I tend to want to try things out before I go full send. But when I learned about it, like everything that I learned about that field, um, it was just like night and day. Like I knew this is what I wanted. And because of that, because I had just like so much confidence in that decision for myself, I decided I wanted to just, well, actually, I should back up. I should also explain the fact that I don't have any IT and cyber experience at all. So I was completely a fish out of water. I hope that other people will relate seeing this and knowing, like, hey, I don't have any cyber experience at all. How the heck am I going to get in there? So knowing that I wanted to get into cyber, but also knowing that I needed to have experience or certs, I decided to really embrace the proximity principle for myself. So I just decided that I was just going to completely embrace myself in cybersecurity as much as I could with what I had. So I immediately started listening to podcasts, YouTube videos. There's a lot of free stuff online that you can
Mm-hmm.
utilize. I started playing around with that. And I knew that I was going to, again, really invest myself in this long term. So I joined the Army. I know they provide a lot of financial incentives to go back to school to get a certificate. But most importantly, I knew that I wanted to get into that space. So I picked a career role that was in communications. And using that, I was like, hey, well, if somebody's already in communications, then they're probably interested in IT and cyber. They might even be employed with other people in the valley, and they're going to give me insights, connections, networking opportunities. And that's exactly how I use the Army. I joined, literally signed my contract from 1 month to the next. I was already shipping out to basic. I learned so many skills along the way as well. So absolutely no regrets joining the Army. But that's pretty much how I got my foot in the door. I got my first opportunity with help desk, and it just pretty much went from there.
No, and that's our paths of how we leverage the military to get into our roles. I think are very similar, because same thing. And as I always tell people, not a recruiter for the Army. However, uh, the Army and the military as a whole can be a huge stepping stone for a lot of individuals if they don't have a full path yet, maybe ironed out. And just like you said, Daniela, it's hard to fully commit via through doing career changes when you think it's something you're really passionate for and you want to do and you have the drive for it. But just like any kind of new role or new move or big decision in life, to make that big jump saying, I'm going to go from this career or this big boy, big girl job that you think you might stay at for 20, 25 years and then do a full career change can be very intimidating. But I think just like you said, is leveraging the passion and the small little hints and clues that as you were growing up and going through training and playing games and learning about cybersecurity and seeing that stuff that went on behind the pipelines or behind the screen of like, man, like the the intuitiveness and like intriguingness that pulls it in. I think that brings a lot of people into cyber is how diverse it can be. And I think now in the head, like making a smart choice into joining the military to, you know what, I'm going to leverage them for school, for certifications, for networking, can be a huge win for anyone across the spectrum, no matter what part and walk of life you're in. Whether that's joining the Marine Corps, Air Force, Army, the Coast Guard. Fun fact, John Hammond was at the Coast Guard Academy, also going to school for cyber, for those that did
Nice.
not know that. And it's just like, it's an interesting fact. And it's like, some people just think they have to go into get certifications, they have to go to college and get that cyber degree to leverage the skill set they need. When in full circle, if you join the military, I know some 17, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds that are system admins. And at that young of an age, you may not have that same experience that you get to leverage outside of the military when you're done with your contract or that experience to step out into the civilian world saying, hey, yeah, I've been a system admin since I was 18. And it's like, man, what? This guy's 18. He's been a sysadmin for 6 years. Like, holy crap. So, nail on the head for leveraging that kind of experience to get into it. And it can kind of bleed into our next question that actually fits in perfect is search versus experience. So, you've sat on interviews, I think, when it comes into even bringing on people at the state, talking with interns and doing those hires. What do you think's more impressive on a resume when it comes to certifications, projects, education? What do you see or maybe leverage as more important than the other?
Oh gosh, I think I would have to pick experience. I mean, ultimately, um, I'm not like I've never been a hiring manager with the state per se, but in other similar situations that I've been in, you kind of just have to know if someone is going to be able to, fulfill the role or not. And if you don't know them, you have to know, hey, have you done something similar, and how can this like lean in? And that being said, I think it can be a little bit scary to think about, okay, I need to have experience before I get started somewhere. But what again is so neat about cyber is that there's so many opportunities to gain experience at home, to just even start having those conversations with people. And there's a lot of, like, again, free resources, but also you can get together with other people and create projects together that essentially emulates what you're going to be doing in the real world, which is you're going to be working with coworkers on big projects. It's definitely doable.
Yeah, GitHub, Stack Overflow. I always tell people to brag about doing that training they're doing. So if you're doing Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, Pico CTFs, other CTFs that go on across the industry, and if you're competing in those and you're learning those skill sets, it's funny that some people will think like, oh, well, I need to get a job to gain experience, and I'm like, well, you do and you don't, because just like you said, you can leverage experience, and it's how you word it and phrase it, and building your own home lab, knowing how a sim works, being able to talk the language and actually talk the process of what is Splunk, what is Elastic, what is SQL, how would you build a search, why would you build it this way, how do these things actually work when you're implementing that into the tool. And if you can learn and talk that talk, most of it, just like you said, is when you're doing that interview and you're trying to impress that hiring manager, it's a little bit of confidence, it's a little bit of knowing the skill and understanding your the tools that are going to be used for the job, but it's also just being the best candidate. So showing that you're active in the community, showing that you're productive on your free time, and maybe if you're looking into breaking that entry role, volunteering at your church doing cybersecurity, or volunteering at any K through 12 schools, going to local meetups, talking and networking and saying, hey, I've been doing and leveraging this certain skill or this type of language to build build an app, build a tool, work and build out scripts, and sharing that on your GitHub, and then showcasing your GitHub almost like as a repertoire of the skills and sets you've done, will put you above those other entry level candidates that you're fighting with to get these roles. I know we have tons. We back at the state when I was there, we'd have over hundreds, if not thousands, of applicants to come be interns for the state of Arizona. And when Adam and I used to chat and talk on who would be the best candidates, we looked for passion. We looked for folks that had all those list of projects and like kind of like, oh, I did these CTFs. I do these type of trainings on my own time to make sure I stay sharp on all the additional things that we have to currently, and always keep upgrading our skill sets on, because adversaries are getting just as complicated and trained up as we need to. And it's a huge thing, I think, to leverage. Do you have a favorite training site, Danielle, that you like to use to kind of stay sharp on things? Or what's your favorite way to kind of train or stay ready for your next certification or next training?
Yeah, so again, not trying to be an army commercial here or a recruitment ad, but I do leverage a lot of the resources that the army has. I've never had to pay a dime for any of the textbooks, and yes, I am one of those people that reads the textbooks for my certificates. um, it Yeah, maybe I could share a little bit of how I study. But essentially, I'll take those free textbooks that the Army has. I'll skim through it once, just to kind of like start picking up the vocab pieces.
Yeah.
And it just kind of helps me get that primary exposure. But then I like to use video courses. Like I like to kind of sort of have like the engagement, because anybody can fall asleep reading a book. So I'll go through and do video course with that, and then write physical notes. For me, I'm a very like tactile person. I need to write down physical notes that I can go back and highlight and kind of be interactive with it, draw pictures. Um, and then again, just use practice exams. I'll rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. But a key thing with that for myself that I've done is that I try to emulate the actual testing experience. Um, a big component of that is just the psychological, just going in on that test day and feeling like, oh my gosh, like I've never been here. I don't know who these people are. This is not my computer, right? All those things kind of add up. But if you can already like pretty much train how you're gonna fight, then you're gonna already feel like okay, I'm halfway there. Like that mental barrier comes down and you're not as like stressed, if I could do that. So I do leverage a lot of the Army resources and any of the free stuff that's out there too. I just collect a whole library of it on my laptop, and anytime I feel curious about a certain subject, I'll pop into those.
Yeah, there's people I follow on LinkedIn and other individuals that will drop free training sites, and I feel like I have like a library of like trainings I'll find for free, and I'll just grab it. And I'm like, I'm just gonna put this in my library for everyone to read it and do
Yes.
it. And same way, I think I'm very identical of how I train. I'm not very note takey. I have to beat repetition into my head to understand things, but I'm also a
Hmm.
horrible test taker. So it's just like I really wish that just like the SOC analyst level 1 certification by Try Hack Me, There's a small portion of it that's a multiple choice test, which is A, B, C, D, but then section 2 and 3 are live. It's a live simulation of a SOC environment where you're actually
Mhm.
working cases, you're writing reports. I will do hands-on all day to actually get in and actually show I can do the skill. I hate the aspect of going in through a multiple choice test. And Bree Frost over at Pluralsight probably said it best. Like, you'll never go through a pen test or training environment where you're going to get to a firewall or some type of challenge you have, and it's like, okay, option A, you're going to do this. Option B, like you have to do the skill.
Nope. You have to
And
go find those options for yourself.
yeah, so very identical. And like, same thing. Like, I had to heavily beat myself into the head of like understanding. Okay, it's just a test, pass or fail. I'm still learning, and I want to emphasize this to a lot of people that they take these certifications and they may not pass the first time. Just because you're not passing a certification doesn't mean you're not retaining or getting anything out of the course. So our certification is great. They pad the resume. They can help you get through HR algorithms and get through scanning. Yes, but if you're actually doing the training, and I've talked to this on Jeremy Giroux over at who's a SOC manager in the fintech sector, is you could have SANS certifications behind your name, you could have CompTIA certifications behind your name, you could have self-taught information, just saying, hey, look, I'm all self-taught and I understand the material. If you're the best candidate for the role, no matter what certification you have, no matter how you can break it down, if someone that has a SANS cert can't talk to me how to walk through a phishing investigation, but the person that just has hands-on experience of like going through their own labs and like doing phishing training on their own breaks it down better, I'm probably going to hire that person that has no certifications because they understand the concepts of it better and they can break down and just know it better because they've retained the information better. Yeah, being a cert bunny or just hunting down all the certifications so you can have an alphabet of letters behind your name. There's a pro con with it. Yeah, you're going to look super paper
Yeah.
stacked, but as soon as you get to a technical interview and you can't regurgitate all the information from the training, there's I think some of that imposter syndrome, and you lose the credibility where you might understand it, but if you don't have a strong foundational baseline of all the things you've learned, it's hard to kind of regurgitate that on technical interviews. And I'll be the first one to say I'm not good at technical interviews. I will heavily prep and study for the roles I want to get into and study for, and I'll write cheat sheets, I'll do study cards, I'll do flashcards, I'll go open up my old like study material or SANS books I have just to go through and understand concepts again. And yeah, it can be nerve wracking and frustrating. And
Absolutely, yes.
I think it goes into the next part, Daniela. If you could go back and talk to yourself when you were first getting into the industry, what advice would you give yourself now? Like, I know back when I did this pivot into cyber about like 7, 8 years ago, there were some resources. I was obviously networking a lot with my the military component that I was a part of to help with my mentoring and kind of getting me into the path what I wanted to do. But I would almost tell myself to do more try hack me, understand and read more, learn the definitions and the terminology, and just not be afraid to go and ask questions and like apply for those roles. There's a lot of positions I didn't apply for initially trying to get into the field because I just didn't feel I deserved it and I didn't have the confidence for it. If you could go back and talk to your younger self breaking into cyber, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh my goodness. Almost all those things you touched on. Like like I'm also a very nervous test taker, and that's like why I try to emulate as much as possible like how it's going to look and feel like. Um really just anytime you have like imposter syndrome, you really just have to rinse and repeat. You have to practice. That's how I overcome it. I just pour more energy into it and try to learn, right? Because sometimes like a good way to be having that lack of confidence is just to have more knowledge. But as far as going back and telling myself what I would say pick the shortest and straightest path. So have real clarity on what your goal is. And if you don't, then make an effort to clarify that for yourself. Do you need to go talk to somebody that's already in that role? Do you need to try out an internship? Do you need to go even read a book or a podcast? Interviews. All of those things help. Just gathering as much knowledge as you can to help yourself make that decision is going to be great. Once you have that goal, it's like, okay, what is absolutely necessary? And there's a lot of distractions, especially when getting started in cyber. you have to remember that you can't learn every single thing about cyber. Not a single person in cyber is going to know everything. The field
Yes.
just continues to grow. There's so many roles that that are here now that weren't a thing even a couple years ago. So you have to keep that in mind. And that being said, I think you have the vending machine problem. I think it's a really good idea to follow your curiosity and that knowledge with your goal and just go all in. um, a mistake I made in the past was, well, I wouldn't say it's a complete mistake, but I wanted to get into cyber and I went through all the CompTIA websites as everybody does. And I saw at the beginning of that pathway at that time was A plus, right? We know there's a bunch more that
Ugh.
they put on there and I don't want to
Ugh.
get into it because it's a whole conversation. But I started off with the A plus, and technically like that's not required for getting into cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So I would have skipped that for sure. It was just basically time that I wasted when I could have been just going right for the security plus. And part of that was like, well, thinking I should know all this before getting in, and it's a yes and no, but at the end of the day, not really. So I don't regret learning about hardware and stuff,
I
but it wasn't applicable
I
directly.
I love CompTIA. I have my CompTIA like certs up there, and like it's a great. I am also not sponsored by CompTIA, but I would love to be CompTIA. Shout out. But how and why A plus is not a singular cert, and why you have to pay two separate test exams to get part one, part two to get a completed A plus certification kind of drives me bonkers. I hope with that acquisition that just happened this year, that's one thing they look into to maybe combining that information into one singular cert. Because for those trying to break in, and if you're looking into going into help desk and IT, I definitely would recommend A plus. Like yes, A plus is I think very strong if you're going to do help desk, you're going to go fix computers and understand the innards. Um, and in full circle, could it be important for knowing cybersecurity of knowing what a CPU is, how drivers work? Yes, but to your point as well, like I skipped over A plus. I went directly to Sec plus, skipped over Net plus, and I went directly to Security plus first to kind of get my foot in the door on my understanding, terminologies, and then from there I just went up. I'm like, okay, well now that I have my Sec plus, it doesn't make sense to backtrack and go get Net plus, A plus, IT fundamentals for like the very, very instrumental intro to cyber level things. I'm like, okay, now it's in my CYSA. Now it's my CASP. Now Security X. Okay, now I need to get Pentest Plus. Hey, cloud's coming around. Let's get cloud fundamentals. Which oddly enough, cloud fundamentals is actually sunsetting. I think end of the year. So that is
Hmm.
if you hold that certification, it is now a lifetime cert. Kind of cool. But but yeah, no. And then certifications, obviously, there's so many now you can kind of pivot down to like I would say Security Plus used to be the baseline of getting into the field. I've now leveraged on multiple of my videos, pretty much all of them, that I feel like CYSA is the new standard when it comes into breaking into the field on level. But
Hmm.
yeah, try Hack Me, Blue Team Level 1, anti siphon training. SANS obviously is a huge one that's like the industry like top notch, but it's also $10,000. So if you're not wanting to pay that out of pocket, I don't blame you. Um, um, CEH or the E Council for
Hmm.
your cyber ethical hacker. And the list can go on. There's so many industry certifications, vendor certifications, Splunk, Elastic, CrowdStrike, Google Chronicle,
Yeah,
Palo
it
Alto, CCNA.
goes on and on.
Yeah, that alone could be a whole nother chat. Like Andy and Daniela name the certifications, and we just try to name up. We name one for every letter of the alphabet. But
Exactly.
yeah, it's interesting of how and why, and I don't know if you see this too, Daniela. Even like, because I still like just to bruise through LinkedIn and kind of just like I will skim roles and stuff to share on my network and stuff. And even looking at some entry level roles, the amount of experience and things that some companies look for, I think are almost sometimes unobtainable for young analysts breaking into this role. They're wanting 5 plus years of experience. They're wanting like GPen or GSEC for an entry level role. And I'm like, man, like if you're trying to get an entry level role position in this industry right now, you're not going to have GSEC. You're not going to have CEH. You're not going to have your CISSP for a few I've seen.
Absolutely.
And it's
Yeah. In my last role, actually, they stated like the HR requirement was having a PhD, and it was just so funny. It's like, what? Like, even to my boss, we're like, how is this possible? So I totally relate.
and I think you mentioned it before, like networking and mentorship. It's I think a huge piece of breaking into this industry that a lot of people don't take a full um, they don't take advantage of it. So I think I would also tell myself if I could go back to when as soon as I got interested in cybersecurity to find a mentor immediately. One of my mentors, Jared Robick, he's over at MicroAge. He helps me out tons, and he's one of my go-to mentors I ask questions to all the time. And I guess my thoughts on for you, Daniela, was when you were breaking into the field, or even now, do you have a mentor that you kind of look up to, or do you chat with, or what's your thoughts on networking and mentorship?
Um, well, once I got into like my first, well, I started in help desk, but once I got into that role, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by managers who were really like they invested into their employees, they invested into us, and they really did recognize when people were putting in an effort, especially with getting certs. So I was one of those people. Like I was working, and then on my free time, or if it was ever slow and at home, I was working on getting my cert. And I was they hired on like a new wave of people, and I was one of those first people to get my cert because I was well like I was serious about it, and it showed. And with that, like I had a good relationship with my boss, and like supporting me, and he knew I wanted to get into cyber. So when that first role popped up, um I was one of the first people to know about it. So that's kind of like I mean that pays directly in having that opportunity. But really, I've been so lucky to have mentors along the way. My bosses in my older role, they all had a wealth of knowledge, having already had so much experience in the field, and I would just part of being in cyber is just like not knowing the answer to questions. So just day to day on the job, be like just try to troubleshoot things on my own. If I ever got to that point where I needed a little bit of extra guidance, like they were just really good about teaching me, not in the way of just showing me and giving me all the answers, but hey, have you tried using this? What if you did this? And just having good teachers along the way. So yes, I absolutely agree with you. Having a mentor is just completely invaluable. It's like having that older brother or sister to help guide you. They're not going to give you all the answers, but they're definitely going to help you get to where you need to go.
No, definitely. And Daniela, I know I've seen you at a few talks. Have you thought about trying to do a submission or call for papers and trying to get into uh, to do a talk at any conferences this year, maybe?
Oh, I don't know about this year. I would love to, mostly because I want to practice that public speaking. And part of that is like, you just got to do it? So I don't know what I would speak to, but it is a goal of mine eventually.
Okay, awesome. Well, Daniela, I really have appreciated your time on the channel, and I have two more questions for you before we wrap up for the night. But always, as I tell people, thank you so much for sticking around if you have. And if you've liked this so far, please like and subscribe. Drop a comment on what your favorite part's been so far. And Daniela, also, you'll be getting some awesome Ginger Hacker swag for coming onto the channel, so thank
Oh,
you.
sweet. I'll
So,
definitely be wrapping it. Thank
yeah.
you.
So, my second to last question for you is what does Daniela like to do on her free time when she's not cybering? When you're not working and putting out fires at the state? What do you like to do for fun? What do you like to do to unplug?
You can call me crazy, but I like to work out.
Nice. Getting the
I'll be in the
macros.
gym. Yes, absolutely. Lifting those heavy weights. It's definitely how I burn steam. Um, but I also have a race coming up in a couple of weeks. I'll be traveling out of state for that, and I am terrified. I'm not a good runner, but I've been practicing, and I'm hoping it'll pay off. But I love doing outdoor stuff here in Arizona. We just have so many trails and opportunities
Yeah.
throughout the lake, so I love to do that. I also have three German Shepherd rescue dogs. You might have heard them in the background.
Yeah.
Hanging out with them is what I love to do in my free time.
Well, awesome. Well, Daniela, the last question I always ask people before we send off is what's your last bit of advice for someone that's trying to break into cyber?
My advice is just get started. Like, just go. Don't hold yourself back. Pretend imposter syndrome isn't a thing for a moment. Go ahead and dream. Like, just do it. I know it's a Nike commercial, but really just start with where you're at. I know in my heart that you probably have a bunch of resources around you that you didn't even realize you had. Start there, start somewhere. Today is day one. You can do it. We're rooting for you.
Awesome. And Daniela, that's so funny. You're not the only one that says it. So it's just, and that's the biggest thing. It's a fear. It's fear. It's scary. It's hard to make that.
It
It's hard to make that transition hop. It's hard to get to the field. Rejection's a real thing, but exactly that. Just start today. Today's day one, and get that stuff started. So, hey everyone, thanks so much if you've stuck around this long in the video. As always, I'll catch you on the next video of Breaking in the Cyber.